This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good morning, everyone. Baruch Haba, it's a distinct honor and privilege to speak in this home that is a source of chesed and askanos, not only for Lawrence and the entire 5 towns, but really for all of Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Alex is an amud of chesed for the Jewish people. I personally have had the opportunity to speak for Rabbi Alex for a wide array of Jewish causes here in this home. And in our Beis Medrash, we've been the beneficiary of Rabbi Alex's chesed for many, many years. So we're mevarich Rabbi Alex and his wife, Umeshpachtoi, that may this home always be a source of chesed for Klal Yisrael, and may it be the recipient of Hashem's shefa, bracha, v'hatzlacha, ad ki yavo shiloh. I'm particularly pleased that today's breakfast is honoring my dearest friend, Reb Sender Schwartz, who is also renowned for his askanas here in the 5 towns and beyond. Since I came to the community about 7 years ago, Reb Sender has been a very beloved friend, mishtatev kavua in all of our shiurim, a major recruiter to our shiurim, and very involved in all the aspects of the running of our Beis Medrash. Roish v'risha in l'chol davar shebekdusha. So we're mevarich Reb Sender u'mishpachtoi with gesund, bracha v'hatzlacha, ad bias goel tzadak. I had the good pleasure to meet the other honoree this morning, and I was just apprised of his recognition. So we're mevarich Reb Sam also with all the above mentioned brachos. We welcome Reb Sam's Rav, Rabbi Moshe Weinberger. Thank you for coming, and for all of the mishpachas who have joined this morning, shefa, bracha, v'hatzlacha. The tzedakah Kollel Shomrei Hachomos for Meir Balanes is very dear to my heart. For some inexplicable reason, the subject of Rabbi Meir has occupied my mind and my leiv for many, many years. Specifically, Rav Meir Shita, that ben kach u'ben kach nikram banim. I can't shake it. It has taken me over. Ad kedei kach that I was learning one of the Svarim of Reb Chaim Falaji, and Reb Chaim Falaji wrote a sefer Nefesh Chaim, and in the Nefesh Chaim, Reb Chaim Falaji writes 36 proofs to Rav Meir Shita that ben kach u'ben kach nikram banim. So now, through Rabbi Meir, I feel connected to Reb Chaim Falaji. And I had this insatiable urge to go to the kever of Reb Chaim Falaji. The only thing is, it's not in Williamsburg. Reb Chaim Falaji is buried in Izmir. Not exactly a very welcoming destination for members of our faith. Sure enough, I get a call one day. A Hasidic guy says he's making a trip for the yard site of the Baal Smichas Chachamim for all the descendants of the Smichas Chachamim. He said, "Are you related?" I said, "Now I'm related." Yeah, I'm not related to the Smichas Chachamim. I said, "I'll come." He wanted me to speak on one condition: get me to Reb Chaim Falaji. He said, "You have a deal." A few months ago, I was zoiche to daven at the kever of Reb Chaim Falaji. People ask me, every day you hear in the news that the Iranians, they try to kidnap some Jewish guy, and they make up in the news that just, they smuggled the guy out just in the flash of time. Say, "Are you happy you went to Turkey?" I said, "Now that I'm back, I'm very happy that I went to Turkey." Reb Chaim Falaji makes an astounding statement in the Sefer Moed L'Chol Chai. It says, Reb Chaim Falaji, Hein emes, de b'chol eis u'b'chol zman, chiyuv aramya alon, liyois daiton olav b'chol askein u'b'chol masyadim. There's a very unusual chiyuv. That there's an obligation never to be Mesiach Das from the Tana Eloki, Reb Meir Balanes. It's a very unusual responsibility. There's no chiyuv to think about Rabbi Akiva. There's no chiyuv to think about Ram Gamliel, Rabbi Tarfon. In fact, there's no chiyuv to think about Moshe Rabbeinu. Nowhere does it say you can't be Mesiach Das from Moshe, you can't be Mesiach Das from the Torah. There's no individual that we need to think about. Why do we always have to think about Reb Meir Balanes? This Shabbos Mevarchim Chodesh Tammuz, we're coming on to the time of the year where we remember Churban Beis HaMikdash. I'd like to share with you a ha'ara. I believe it's mamish matana min hashamayim. The Gemara in Hanizakin and the story of Kamsa Bar Kamsa tells us in the aftermath of that episode The Gemara says they wanted to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, so Shadar Ilavei Niron Kezar. Yeah, they send Nero Kezar to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, so he shoots an arrow to the east, it lands Yerushalayim. To the west, to Yerushalayim. In all the directions, to Yerushalayim. So he goes to a kid, he says, "Nu, tell me what pasuk you're learning." So the kid says, basically, you're going to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, and God's going to wipe his hands with you. So Nero Kezar says, I have to do the Lord's dirty work, and then Rebbi Shalom is going to wipe his hands with me. The Gemara says 7 words as a hakdama to Chorban Beis Hamikdash. Arak, Azal, Ve'agayer, Ve'nofak Minei Rebbi Meir. Hafla v'fele, the hakdama to Chorban Beis Hamikdash is the creation of the Tana Rebbi Meir Balanes. Why is the genesis of Rebbi Meir the hakdama to the Chorban? So I want to share with you a brief thought from one of the Kadmoinim, Rav Yaakov Shaltiel Ninyo, who the Ben Yoyada quotes. Perhaps you're familiar with it, but I think the upshot might be something new. Mashiach Tzidkenu that we're all hoping for. We're all yearning for the Mashiach. Does anybody know what city will the Mashiach reveal himself in? Lawrence. I say Cedarhurst because Cedarhurst is the closest to JFK. But interesting, the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah Daf Lamed Aleph that at the time of the Churban, the Sanhedrin made 10 stops, and corresponding to that, the Shechina made 10 stops. Milishkas Hagazis l'Chanos, u'mechanos Yerushalayim, u'mishalayim liyavne, u'miyavne l'Usha, u'miyusha liyavne. Last stop, says the Gemara, umi Tiveria amuka mikulan. Tiveria is the last stop. Says the Gemara, umi sham asidin ligoel. The Geula is destined to come from Tiveria. Interestingly, the Chida asks, what do you mean? The Zayar says Mashiach will reveal himself in the Galil. So the Gemara says Tiveria is a stira. So the Chida in his Agoy Sound Zayar says not a stira, Tiveria is in the Galil. The Zayar is identifying the general location, and the Gemara is narrowing it down to the city of Tiveria. But as Rav Yaakov Shaltiel Ninyo, he's one of Kadmoin, he's quoted many times by the Ben Yehoyada. Why of all cities will the Mashiach reveal himself in Tiveria? Why not Yerushalayim? Why not Chevron? Why not Tzfas? What's the yichus of Tiveria? Furthermore, there's Yerushalmi and Klayim. The Yerushalmi says that Meir went to Asia. What he was doing in Asia, the Gemara says, he was going to Ma'aver the Shana. Meir fell ill, and he released the following public service announcement. Ha Mashiachachoin Didchain. I'm Mashiach. One thing for sure, Meir was a great man. One thing he's not Mashiach. He's Mizera Niron Kezar. He's not Mizera David. How could Meir say that he's Mashiach? In fact, the Mekubalim say that Meir is so connected with Mashiach, Ruach Apenu, Mashiach Hashem, there's Rosh Tevois Meir. Ruach Apenu. Meir is Mashiach. Meir is from Edom. Says Rabbi Yaakov Shaltiel Ninyai, let me explain what the role of Rabbi Meir in the coming of Mashiach is. The Yalkut says in the end of Yeshaya that L'Asid Lavai, the Rebbe Shalom, is going to come to bring Mashiach, and the Ummah Ha'olam are going to say to these guys, Mashiach, Halalu oiv de avodah zara, Halalu oiv de avodah zara, Halalu megala arayas, the Medrash says, Halalu shoifchei damim, the Medrash says. The Goyim are going to say we're equal, we're on par. Michael, the great advocate, he's going to be sitting there. Not a word. Michael has nothing to say. The Rebbe Shalom says, Michael, you have nothing to say? What about tzedakah? Says the Gemara, says the Medrash, Ani medaber b'tzedek rav l'hoshiyah. Michael, you forgot about tzedakah. So the Emes Yaakov asks, nobody has anything good to say about Klal Yisrael. Michael didn't know that there were parlor meetings. Every Sunday in this neighborhood, there are at least 3 parlor meetings. Michal didn't know that Klal Yisrael gives tzedakah. And what about the Goyim? The Goyim also give tzedakah. They have golf tournaments, they have outings, they have the same things going on. Says Yaakov Shaltiel Ninyo, the mitzvah of tzedakah is not a pashut mitzvah. It's a Tornis Rufus argued in Baba Basra that if the king makes a decree that one of his subjects should be impoverished and locked up, so anybody who goes and tries to help the guy out, he'll be punished. He's contravening the decree of the king. That was the argument of Turnus Rufus, and Rabbi Akiva countered, yeah, but if the king decreed that his son should be locked up and impoverished, then the benefactor will be rewarded. Says the Emes Yaakov then, and the mitzvah of tzedakah is dependent on another great machlokes that we're all familiar with. And I always say, never take your kids shopping. That's the biggest mistake you can make. But if you do, and they misbehave, wouldn't it be convenient to summon the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda? Somebody asks, who are these kids? I don't know. I rented them for the day. I borrowed them. I'm watching them. I'm doing a chesed to them. I don't know who these kids are. They're not related to me. Says Rabbi Yehuda, that's what the Rebbeinu Shalom says about us. When we're Tyra Kinderlach, then we're Banim Lamakoim. And if we're not doing Ritzonah Shel Makoim, then we're Avodim. I always wanted to take advantage of Rabbi Yehuda's Shita. And then, of course, we have the Shita of Reb Meir. Reb Meir's Shita is Ben Kach u'Ben Kach Nikraim Banim. Says the Emes Yaakov, in the end of days, when the Rebbeinu Shalom is looking for merit to redeem Klal Yisrael, when Michael is looking for merit to bail us out, there's nothing to say. What's Michael going to say? Tzedakah. But we're ein oisin ritzoino shel makoim. Yeah, but Reb Meir holds Ben Kach u'Ben Kach Nikraim Banim. Yeah, but we don't ever paskin like Reb Meir. Reb Meir is a great tzedakah. Kollel Shomrei is a great tzedakah. But in terms of halacha, who paskins like Reb Meir? The Gemara in Eruvin says that lo yardu Hachomos soif daitei. Nobody knows what he's talking about. We can't understand him. He's too deep for us. So in the end of days, Michael knows halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. So he can't bail us out with the mitzvah of tzedakah. Tzedakah is not a zechus, it's a choiv. So Rabbi Yaakov Shaltiel Ninyo has a chap that the Satmar Rebbe later quotes the idea, he doesn't quote where it's from, that the rule that we never paskin like Reb Meir is only something relevant to this world. But when it's noigea the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Rebbeinu Shalom is certainly yoyred l'soif daito shel Meir. The Rebbeinu Shalom could certainly plumb the depths of the Shita of Reb Meir. The Rebbeinu Shalom then will be koiveya that the sole exception to the rule that we don't pass like Meir is regarding our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Ben Kach u'Ben Kach Nikraim Banim. Satmar Rebbe famously says that on Rosh Hashanah we're mispalel im kibanim im kavod. Im kibanim rachamenu krachim avabanim. The im kavodim einenu l'chatzlias. Says the Satmar Rebbe, im kibanim, if we behave like banim, then even Rabbi Yehuda would be moideh. Rachamenu krachim avabanim. But v'im ka'avodim, but if we're not acting like Hashem's children, and we're ein oisin ritzono shel makoim, then we're in a jam. What do? Einenu l'cha teluyos, Rebbeinu Shalom, we're dependent on you. You understand the depths of the Shita of Reb Meir. You could be yored l'soif daitoi. So it comes out then, and this already is brought in the Parsha Drachim, that the mitzvah of tzedakah is dependent on Reb Meir's Shita. Without Reb Meir's Shita, tzedakah is not a zchus. Maybe 2,000 years ago it was a zchus. But b'zman she'noisin ritzono shel makoim, the mitzvah of tzedakah only works in the Shita of Reb Meir. Therefore, says the Emes Yaakov, v'zehu hatam she'noagu kol Yisrael b'chol tfutzos Yisrael liyoisam noidrim nedarim v'nedavos. L'zchus hatano leiki Reb Meir balanes. So now here's the lamdas. So comes the end of days, and the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to redeem us. Now Michal can't even open up his mouth. He can't say tzedakah. Who's Michal to be koiveya? The halacha is like Rabbi Meir. Comes the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Rebbeinu Shalom says tzedakah. So the Ummah Sa'ilam say, what do you mean? We also give tzedakah. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, no, you're avodim. So the Ummah Sa'ilam say, you're also avodim. Says the Rebbeinu Shalom, halacha is like Rabbi Meir. Right? The Rashba, Simen Kuf Tzadidal, Reish Mem Beis, the halacha is like Reb Meir. Say the Goyim, what do you mean? We're the Jews. They live in our neighborhoods. They live in our cities. We're the muchzak. So you know the halacha is, when you're the muchzak, you could say Kimli. So the Ummah Sa'ilam say, we hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Now, what's your argument? You're going to say you hold like Reb Meir? Kimli! We hold like Rabbi Yehuda. So Rebbeinu Shalom has orchestrated that the Mashiach will arrive in the one city where the halacha is nikva like Reb Meir, in the city of Tiberia. Because a little known fact, that the halacha is not what it says in your sefer. The halacha is what your Meir da Asra tells you. You ever hear that? You ever hear that idea? The halacha is established by the Meir da Asra. And in Tiveria, the Meir da Asra is Rabbi Meir. And who's buried in Tiveria? Rabbi Meir. I like to say Rabbi Akiva is also there. Because in case anybody wants to argue on Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Akiva already established his shita, the Ben Kach Nikram Banim. Who's the Tana in Perkei Avos? Banim Atem Lashem Rabbi Akiva. And the halacha is Rabbi Akiva Mechaverav. So Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Akiva are sitting there. Maybe they'll bring in a third individual to be Kaveya Bezdin, to be Kaveya, the halacha, Ben Kach Nikram Banim. Mamela, this parlor meeting is a big tzedakah and a big zechus, and Mashiach could come. So here's the matana. So the Romans send Nero Caesar to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. Says Rebbi, you can destroy the Beis Hamikdash. But wait a second. I always create the refuah before the makkah. If there's going to be Churban Beis Hamikdash, then I need to get into motion. I need to set the ingredients, create the ingredients necessary for the Geula. And who's needed to be able to bring the Geula? Rabbi Meir. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Vespasian, wait a second. Titus, wait a second. Nero Caesar goes, Arak, the Azal, the Agayer, the Nafak Minei Rameir. So Tiveria is already set up so that the Mashiach would come. Says Rebbi, okay, now the Churban Beis Hamikdash could go into motion. But not until the Rebbi Shem has already set the stage for the coming of the Geula. So Rameir is the Hakdama for Churban Beis Hamikdash. Without Rameir, we could say, the well-known Vart, the Yaakov Avinu is approaching Esav, and he was afraid Shema Yaharoig Acherim, and we know Acherim is Rameir is always referred to as Acherim. That Yaakov Avinu is very concerned to preserve Rabbi Meir. Why is Yaakov Avinu so concerned to preserve Rabbi Meir? Because Yaakov Avinu's encounter with Esav is the Golos. The Ramban writes that's the Golos. So in order to preserve Klal Yisrael in the Golos, Yaakov Avinu first has to ensure Shema Yaharoig Acherim. We can't get rid of Rameir. Rameir has to be tall. Rameir has to be strong for Klal Yisrael. This is the Hakdama to the Churban. This is the Hakdama to Chodesh Tammuz. Today's breakfast, in preparation for the coming of the month of the Churban, is really the most appropriate preparation for Churban Beis Hamikdash. But we could add one more idea. As the Churban is being set into motion, Klal Yisrael is in danger of feeling the Baruch Shalom is going to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. He's banishing us from Eretz Yisrael. Maybe he's severing the ties. Maybe the love has been diminished. Maybe Hashem's ahava for Klal Yisrael is being affected. Says the Rebbi Shalom, one thing you need to know before I destroy the Beis Hamikdash. Arak, ve'ozal, ve'agayer, ve'nafak minei Rameir. Yes, there'll be a Churban, but my love for you will never be diminished. My ahava for you will never be affected. Ben kach u'ben kach nekram banim. Rav Meir was the important Hakdama for Klal Yisrael before the Churban comes. Says the Emes Yaakov, when Rav Meir says Ano Mashiachachoin Didchoin, it doesn't mean he's the personage of Mashiach. It means that his shita is necessary in order for Mashiach to come. Perhaps we could suggest, therefore, that we don't have any obligation to think and not be Mesiach Das from any other individual. My Zayda passed away a year ago at 106 years old. He was a Talmud Muvak of Rabbi Menachem Zemba. He was in Auschwitz. He was in Dachau. He says when he was in Dachau, every moment he thought Mashiach was about to come. He was never Mesiach Das from the coming of Mashiach. Part of not being Mesiach Das from the coming of Mashiach is never to stop thinking about the great Tana, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. But there's an interesting thing. The same way we never stop thinking about Rabbi Meir. Reb Chaim Vital writes, Rabbi Meir is buried in a very unusual position. Rabbi Meir is buried standing up. Why is Rabbi Meir buried standing up? Because his chus is oimed for Klal Yisrael at Seif Kol HaDaros. So may we suggest that the same way we are never Mesiach Das from the great Tana Rabbi Meir is never Mesiach Das from Klal Yisrael. In that merit, in our merit of coming together this morning to be mechazek the Kollel, Shomrei Hachomos, the Kupas, Meir Balanes, in the zchus of our generous contribution, the zchus Hatana. May we be zocheh to hear Besuros Tovos from the holy city of Tiberia. May we hear about the arrival of the Mashiach, the Ruach HaPeinu, Mashiach Hashem, the V'yaskal Tzedek, the Meir B'Yaminu. Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.